Alright, for my vintage types, I found a pretty smoking deal on eBay. These things usually go for pretty decent money. What's in the box? Oh, it's in pretty good shape. Wow, that is really clean. Tell you what, the thing is pretty nice. It's got a few little scuffs. It's got a little borderline flat spot on this tire, which is a bummer. Somebody left it sitting on the tires. The tires are a little bit dry. They're starting to feel like they're starting to get all dried out. But anyway, I got this thing for $29. So considering what they can go for used, I think it looks pretty good. It's got some stickers that are peeling on it a little bit, but otherwise it's in really good shape. Really just got it for display. But this is not a particularly special car to me as far as something I had. Matter of fact, I never owned one. I had a friend own one, and this is really the car that sparked me to go away from my Nico Thunderbolt with a 380 motor, and kind of forced me to go get, it made me go out and get the RC10 so I could be more competitive with this car. But I'm sure my friend Justin, who had this thing when he was a kid, it's probably long gone. But when I saw this one online, for as cheap as it was, it's still got the dirt on it. For as cheap as it was, I figured I would pick it up. It doesn't have a radio. I don't even know if I'm going to bother trying to find one. But the battery box is clean. Just does not have a lot of runtime on it. You'd see some wear where the battery sits in there. Really clean. So it should look good for a shelf queen. I'll clean it up a little bit and put it in its place of honor. So anyway, as you guys notice, there's a lot of vintage stuff on the channel lately. So it's kind of the kick I'm on. It's kind of drug me back into RC when I was taking a bit of a break. So I got my vintage, that's not vintage, it's my re-release Frog going. I'm gonna go take it out and show you guys the progress on the track and show you how the Frog runs. All right, so you'll see my little nickel metal chargers I got going on over here. Starting to move, at least as far as these cars are concerned, over back to nickel metal batteries. The capacities are getting as big as LiPo, obviously, minus the danger. So with my kids operating this stuff or whatever, I'm kind of reserving LiPos for scalers and racing cars and that kind of stuff. For these, I'm definitely going nickel metal hydrate, whatever it is, just to keep things a little more safe. So you notice the track is devoid of jumps right now. I have the stuff to make them. Got some nice tubing. But running this vintage stuff, you don't really need it. These cars were, when they were designed, they were made to run on flat tracks. So for right now, we're not gonna have jumps. I do have a glass problem over on the section of track I'm driving on right now. There was a junk pile here from like a 100-year-old house, and there was a ton of glass there. So I've got a little plan. I'm going to build a kind of a sieve or a whatever you want to call it to try and I'll hair the track up real good and then scoop that stuff up. Oops. Sorry for not paying attention. Track is coming along though. Been working it with a hair behind the ATV, so not a lot of physical labor tied to it. It's actually pretty fun to drive on with these vintage cars. The cars are challenging enough to drive, and the track is loose enough that it makes it a challenge sometimes. Something about hearing those hollow tires pound on the dirt. If you did this back in the 80s like I did, it's a very familiar sound. This Frog, other than some bolts backing out on it that didn't get Loctited when it was built, this is a secondhand job that I picked up and finished. It just keeps pounding along, taking the punishment and running the crap out of it, putting 20-minute runs on it. It just keeps coming back for more. It's one of my favorites from when I was a kid. I did not own one when I was a kid, but I wanted one really bad. One of my friends' had one, and the smaller diameter kind of white wheels, the dune buggy wheels, really grabbed my attention, and it just made the scale of it just seemed like right. So I was always a real fan of the Frog. Fan of the Hornet also, uses the same wheels. I actually just picked up a Hornet for my son. We're gonna build that up, and then between his sisters, mine and his, we'll have some good, solid, fun cars to drive as a family that are not too fast and can take punishment and also have part support for when they break. I think a lot of this resurgence happened, I don't want to get too personal for the guy's family, but the track that I started at when I was a kid was RC Hobby World in St. Joseph, Missouri. That was where I cut my teeth. That was where I met a lot of my RC guys that I run with even to this day. I'm a little bit younger than them, but this place is where we met. And this guy, he was one of the co-owners of the track, and when I got my RC10, I didn't have the experience with the soldering and electronics and whatnot. He helped me and my dad finish it up. He was friends with a lot of the same guys, and maybe we never really hung out, but super good dude, super solid guy. Just the other day he passed away, so that was really sad. And at his funeral and stuff, I kind of ran into some of the guys I used to run with back in the day, and I think that's what really started the whole, this vintage stuff had been sitting on the shelf, and I think his passage is what kind of got me thinking about this stuff again, and got me out there to get the Frog running and get my RC10 re-release running and get the track going again. I didn't mention RC Hobby World was a track also. It was a hobby shop and track. Oh, I picked up a stick. Oh, it's really in there. But uh-oh, Marshall. Up there's Greg would always be behind the counter, and my parents would just drop me off there because they didn't want to hang around and watch me drive RC cars. I didn't have a fast charger when I first started, and I only had one battery, so I would pester Greg to charge my batteries all the time. And I'm sure I probably annoyed the crap out of him like most kids annoy teenagers, but he was always real nice about it, and anyway, his passing just is what kind of brought all this full circle again, and made me want to get this stuff going again. But right now I have more cars to bash with than time to drive them. I have the Optima or the Javelin re-release. I have an Optima that's running that I have never driven on the dirt. I have the RC10 running now, the re-release RC10, so I have plenty of fun cars to drive around. I think this is it's a great looking car. It's actually running my racing paint scheme. This is the paint scheme I ran on all my race cars over the years. White to a fluorescent yellow to a fluorescent green to a blue fade with kind of an electric crackle kind of paint scheme going on. Understeer. I love just being able to just drive the snot out of this thing. That's full throttle, not super fast, but it's fun, man. It's a handful because it's so bouncy. It takes, you know, you gotta hang on to it. The corner's starting to get a little loose. I don't think this car has ball bearings in it. Picked this up as a secondhand project someone started and then couldn't finish, so they sold it on eBay. I got it for like 75 bucks with electronics. And I didn't pull it apart when I got it, so I don't know if it's got, I know it doesn't have ball bearings in the front wheels, so I doubt it has them in the gearbox. But all the hours I'm putting on this thing, they will be wearing out. But with the Hornet I'm building for my kid, I ordered a set of ball bearings for it, and then I also ordered a set for this, so I'll be tearing this down. Install some bearings in it. Oh, off the track.